Okay. So, okay, are we starting, you guys? Are we on?
All right. Hey,
We're-
everybody. Welcome.
Jeez.
Hey,
Oh my gosh.
welcome. It's James.
It's-
Jiggy James today with my laid back ensemble. I'm here hanging out with Ev. Once again, my favorite person in the world. But this time
Yeah, we're being
we're
filmed.
being filmed, so
Now they're going to actually see my black eye. Well,
well
it's a yellow eye.
It's it's okay though because
It's a yellow bruise.
It's well on its way to being healed. Now
Wait.
a week later, it's
I
been a
know.
week,
It's been a week.
and you keep.
In fact, you
touching
saw
that
me.
eye.
You saw me with my private.
I hate it. Stop touching your eye.
Okay.
All right, never mind. You can touch it if you want.
Thank you. Okay, good.
Ew.
Look at that. And now it's way better. Look at, remember last week?
Yeah, that was exactly 1 week ago that you okay.
And our topics today,
I'm
right?
glad today we'll bring you right into why you have a black eye.
I wasn't paying attention. No, actually.
Actually, I'm going to tell you, he was paying attention, but his student
Wasn't.
wasn't paying attention. You gave him explicit instructions, and this is also another good thing that we can branch off from later. We'll put a pin in it. Is private training. You know
Yeah.
what the pros and cons.
Well, since we're going to talk about knives, right?
Yeah.
Today,
Yeah.
right? And people that didn't hear me say how I got this was happened a week ago,
Exactly what.
right? So what we're working on, we're working on knives because you know my student wanted to work on knives and defense against knives, and I said, okay, I'm going to get the electric shock knife. Working with rubber, I
Hey,
mean,
let's start with the most possible. I'm glad you didn't pull out your actual knife.
no, yeah, but working with rubber knives, people get they don't really take that serious, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? What's the best teacher in the world?
Pain.
You bet, man. So I said, okay, here's the deal. I got my electric shock knife, and so here's what you can slice, you can do this, but don't do any straight stabbing.
Remember, folks. Remember. He said, do not do any straight stabbing.
Right. So working it, and then what does he do? Stabs me. And what even made it worse was that, again, you know, I was using I have a CPAP machine because, right, I snort night. So again, so what was happening when the CPAP machine was on, my eye got even blacker because all the blood was there, right? So now I'm rubbing
So
it.
not
'cause
only was it a little kind of just a little poke in the eye.
a little, no,
but-
not my eye, not my eye, because we had goggles on, but right here in my cheek, and this whole thing, like you were going, oh, why are you rubbing it?
You keep rubbing it.
I know,
and
I want
it's
the
just
blood
burning me
circulate.
out. Like it's so gross. Man.
So the moral to the story is, you know, again, don't use shock knives for
Don't use
somebody
shock
that
knives.
doesn't know, or even if it had my rubber knife that we normally do, that would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He just hit you with the point.
It was-
pretty much. He
yeah,
said, don't stab.
don't stab,
And you know, like a good student, he stabbed.
and so that's just like training. You know, I tell the students, hey, if you're gonna train, make sure that you don't treat that training weapon like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Treat it
you
like
have
it's
to
a
treat it
real
like it's a
weapon,
real
right?
weapon.
So anyway, that's my black eye, you guys.
There you go.
So, did it shock you in
Oh,
your eye as it hit you?
Well, so the thing with these knives is that when you press a button, there's an electrical shock that goes around the edge of the knife because there's a piece of metal there, right?
Right.
And what it does is if it touches your skin, it gives you
Like a little bit of a shock.
a little pain, right? Yeah, it definitely did shock me, and there was a hole here, and you could see where the shock knife penetrated.
Jabbed right into your face.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, what can I say? So that's we're
San
getting
Andreas
noises
fault.
in here. That's
Yeah.
I think it's our
The San Andreas fault.
it's the yard next door.
There's a lot of earthquakes happening right now.
Yeah. So, needless to say that I'm glad that I was wearing goggles. Could have been my eye.
Yeah.
Hey, been there before, done that.
So I like this idea, and we're gonna get a third camera eventually. But did you not think that he got stabbed in the face?
Well, I know he got stabbed in the face, but I wanted to know if you got shocked and stabbed
Oh,
in the
yeah.
face at the same time.
Yes, I did.
Because that is.
Yikes.
But here's
I
the
actually thought that he wasn't holding the button.
Oh
That
no,
would
it
make
was
more sense.
what scares about it is that noise it makes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We should get a shock knife and show people, but we'll do that later. So
For the next time.
yeah, so what happened? Yeah, it shocked me, but really I didn't notice any of that
Yeah.
until I went to wipe my face, and then I'm doing this, and then the look on my student's face was,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I go, what? And then I had blood all over my hand. So, but I didn't feel the shock, and all I felt was this quick. That was it.
Just like you tell people, they didn't feel the knife coming in, they just felt the blood.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? What people that get stabbed, right? The common comment out of their mouth when they've been stabbed is what?
I thought I got punched, right?
Right.
Like,
You
it
didn't
was
know I was
like
being stabbed. I
It
thought I was
just
being
felt
punched.
like a punch. Somebody punched me in the.
It's the adrenaline dump, man. The human body. Whoever invented the human body, it's amazing. Amazing.
I think that was my buddy Reggie. He might have been working on the prototype. Yeah.
Right. But it's amazing, man. Our nervous system, our skeletal system, muscular. It's just amazing. It dumbfounds me. Right.
Dumbfound.
That's a new word for you,
I
man.
like it.
Like
Dumbfound.
amalgamated, right?
I'm not. You see, wait, what?
Do you know
So-
what that means?
Amalgamated?
Why are you looking at me? Of course, I don't know what that means. Are you?
We'll go give the. Hey, you know what? Ask everybody out there listening. What does amalgamated mean? And then we'll ask.
Comment here.
Or we'll do this next week.
Come on, smarty pants.
It's
Okay.
the action, process, or result of combining or uniting.
Right.
Like I said, sodium dioxide. We need the TV up because I need to see when you Google something to make it. We got to be on top of it more people. All right.
Oh, either that or don't use those big words, right?
Yeah, come on.
There you go. Okay. Okay.
Well, so that brings me to the private training. So we're coaches, but we teach our group classes, but we also train people on the side.
Right.
And I actually had a few people because I'm a boxing and kickboxing coach, so I actually have some people who actually want to pay me just to fight, and it's like I don't know, especially in class, if they're the ones that are, I would prefer to train them how to fight before we start fighting.
Absolutely.
There's never a point where it's like. Well, actually, there's always a point where they will challenge, you're like, any day of the week, kid, if you want to pay me money, I'll beat you up, no problem. But it's like, I always find it hard to accept money when they don't necessarily know what they want. They think they want to fight until they get into a fight.
Right. But in that situation, remember if they go, well, I just want to fight, and you got to control the situation and say, hey, listen, do you know how to fight? Oh yeah, I know how to fight. And then they get ready into their fighting position, and you're going, oh Mark, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Really? Right.
I think it brings me back. I was watching a video the other day where a guy walks into a gym and challenges the head coach. I've seen these. I know they're silly, but he comes in and he puts his dukes up and he charges the guy and he steps to the side and hooks him once and the guy's on the ground.
It's back in the old days. I've always gone back to my old days, right? Because when I was teaching for West Coast with Tony Thompson and Ernie Reyes, we'd have people come in. I had one guy, and I was in the Milpitas studio, right? Tony Thompson studio, and a guy came in and he had this rose thorn bush, and it was actual a rose. The stem of a rose with all the thorns sticking out. And he goes, I'm from the Order of the Blue Rose. And I'm like, have you heard of them? And the guy wanted to fight with this thing. And I'm going, oh yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah, they're pretty awesome. Right. But you'd have people in those days that just come in and want to, we had one guy.
Now I really want to know about this thornbush guy. What did you do with him?
Oh, I said, oh yeah, I've heard about you guys.
Did you talk him down or?
Yeah, I just said, oh yeah. And then he looked at me and walked off.
Okay.
I got a guy that came in, he goes, hey, and this is serious.
Yeah.
It's serious. This guy comes in, he goes, can you teach me how to fly? And one of my black belts was standing there, and he was a lieutenant in the sheriff's department for Alameda County. And he was kind of he was a great guy, but he was always, and I go, we don't do that kind of stuff. And he goes, no, I can show you how to fly. And and when you watch the Kung Fu movies, when they're flying backwards and all this, you hear the sound like, that means they're flying.
Yeah.
So I go, what are you doing? And he goes, no. He goes, listen, here's what you do, man. You get two piles, the four
cinder
block piles, right? And then you put yourself and chain yourself to that and practice doing this. I was just watching a video the other day on YouTube, and there was a guy there where he had a student, big guy, fat guy, and the guy was touching him. The student was touching the instructor, and the student was flying everywhere. And it was just funny to see this because I see the people in the audience. I'm watching it. There must have been 10, 15 people watching, but they're like, oh,
yeah, they're all
cool.
amazed.
They're amazed.
This guy who
touches and the guy sends his, yeah.
Oh.
You know what's sad about that though? There's people that actually believe
Yeah.
that you can do that, right? I mean, in all my years of training, I've never seen anybody touch somebody and then the guy go flying. Well, I've seen people touch somebody and the guy
they
hit him in the face and they went flying. But no, I mean, it just amazes me.
We did it the other day. Brown belt, right? I jumped on your back and I went flying.
That's totally different, right?
Yeah.
But it's amazing how people, I mean, just are so gullible.
Yep.
Right?
That's why I think they have that. I know you probably saw it. They have a channel dedicated to just silly martial arts.
You're kidding me? Really?
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Really?
Yeah.
What's that called?
Actually, I talked to the guy. It's called Mick Dojo.
Are you kidding? Oh, I've got. And what's that on YouTube or what?
It's on everything. Everything. I follow it on social media.
I gotta watch that.
Yeah, he just every single day he has something sillier than the last, and it's that I think there's got to be over a dozen that I've seen different master gurus using their energy. Like they'll actually stack them up. 4 people will have their hands on each other's backs, and then the guy in the front will go, and they are so like,
and they all
like,
yeah.
they're like, ooh,
But,
like this.
you know,
and
I'm
they
not
fly.
Yeah, I'm not discounting that you can use energy.
Oh, I'm discounting.
No, but there's strange things that happen. And I'm not saying it's not possible, but in my years of training, where I've been all over the world and I've seen a lot of stuff, I've never seen that. So back to your private training stuff, if somebody just wants to pay you to fight and they really don't know how, then I would always just say, hey, listen, we need to teach you how to fight. According to major university studies, Stanford, Johns Hopkins, FBI studies, and again, I tell this to people in class, 98% of the people in the world don't know how to fight.
Right. Man,
and
that's
I always say
big 2% that we're a part of, man. That's crazy.
Well, maybe it's more, but with the advent of the UFC many years ago,
oh yeah,
you see people
wants to be a fighter,
right? Everybody wants to be a fighter, and again, so many schools have popped up. You've heard this where a guy comes in, I go, have you trained? Oh yeah, I'm a black belt in MMA.
Yeah. I've seen that.
You've heard it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know we were giving black belts in MMA.
Black belt.
Yeah. So when you're doing private training, you have a responsibility to teach good, solid stuff. And a lot of instructors, they're just doing it for the money.
Yeah.
Right. And I just don't. Again, I want to make sure that what I teach my student works.
Yeah.
I know it works because I've done some of that stuff.
Yeah. Just a few of those things.
Yeah, just a few. And that when they come into a situation where it's going to be bad or deadly, that they have the right tools, right? We give, as instructors, right, what do? We give our students the tools. How they use them is up to them, right? We're giving you the tools. We say, hey, this is A, B, C, D, and E, whatever. But, again, when you go out there and train, and you're training and something happens on the street, It's never the way that you practice in the dojo, right? It's never like that. But we're giving you these tools to use that can help you in certain situations, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what about? Let me see.
So oh, here we go.
So you said you trained all over the world. What, and this is, I mean, it's relative to where we are. I mean, don't think, oh, I'm going to go this way, and it's just as far as going this way. What's the furthest you've gone to train?
Um,
And I don't think it counts if you're. So when did you come? You were here in America when?
1967.
Okay, so you were already like.
13.
Okay, I was gonna say 10 in your teens.
13, and I
Okay,
I
so-
didn't train in martial arts till I turned 20.
Jesus. Okay, so good question.
You know, and people go, "Wow, you were born and raised in Japan. Okay, so when did you start martial arts, man? I mean, when did you start? Like,
Yeah, like
3 or 4?" I go, "No,
No.
I was too busy being a kid, man.
Yeah.
Getting dirty in the mud and fishing and, yeah, and just doing that kind of stuff. Didn't even know anything about fighting. My dad, it was like 5'5", but he
Yeah.
was in the army. He was Golden Gloves. I mean, he was a boxer,
Right.
so he taught me how to box and stuff, and he did some judo, taught me some of that, but I never really trained until. I think I just said last week that I just want to stay in shape.
So I trained with my kid when he was young. How did that translate with you and your dad? Did he throw you around a bunch? Did he like make you, like bow to him, or was it just
No.
like, "Hey kid, I learned something in class today. Let's try it."
My dad was he was wore glasses, and he was the runt of the litter. All my aunts and uncles are like my uncle Bruce is 6'9". My uncle Kenneth is 6'7", and my dad was 5'5". Right?
That's where you get your height.
Oh yeah. So, and he was always picked on. So he was a fighter in the streets of Boston. He used to get a lot of fights. So he would fight, and his fighting was not in the ring type fighting. It was all kind of dirty fighting,
Nice.
right?
I
But he
think
learned how to
you
box.
You learn how
Oh,
to dirty fight
well,
because you're fighting monsters, a
right.
foot above you and
Yeah,
probably 50 pounds heavier, and
yeah. So he taught me that, but I never really took it serious, until, as I said, I came here and I just want to stay in shape. And it's like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I think back now, wow, what if I had done it when I started, like at 4 or 5?
right. Oh yeah, we always all those old timers always think that.
Yeah, gee, I wish I had known this.
Yeah.
Well, if I had
How
done this,
much I loved it.
yeah, right. But yeah, again, so it was pretty cool. But in that time, like I said, I was just being a kid, man. I mean, I have a lot of energy, right?
Yeah.
You know what? My mom used to put a harness on me.
Not one of those.
Honest.
Not one of those things with the leash, right?
Yes, no.
Oh.
I would have a harness, and then she had to have a leash, because I would take off, and I was just like, I'd be bolting. I'd get out
I
of
had
there.
one of those models too. It was like fuzzy, like a stuffed animal, though. Like
Oh
I
no,
remember it, and
yeah.
it was just came with a leash, and it's like, oh, they
Yeah,
just yank you back.
yeah. So it was different when I was younger. So I didn't do any of that stuff, like I said. But coming here, I mean, training in Thailand, training in Korea. See, my dad was in the military, so he handled logistics. So I was very lucky when I was younger, but my dad would be gone on assignment for 2 and 3 years at a time, so I would never see him for
yeah,
the longest was 4 years.
jeez.
And so
And there's no living with him on the base or whatever. It's like
we lived on base in Japan, right? When we were in Japan, in Camp Zama, in Camp Sagamihara.
nice.
But those were in Japan, and then we lived in Africa, of course. I lived in Ethiopia.
Of course,
Well, yeah, for 3 years, and then of course,
we got to talk about that.
well, yeah, that is where, yeah, I got that. That was amazing, very amazing.
So you got to explore the country, or the cities, or you just kind of hung out.
Are we talking about Africa?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no, Africa. There wasn't. We lived in the city of Addis Ababa, and that was something else. A city, I mean, had a couple of big buildings and streets and stuff, paved roads, but it wasn't huge. Be like what Milpitas was, 40 years ago.
40 years ago.
Little cornfield. And of all places to come back to in the United States, we came to Milpitas because my dad's best friend lived in Milpitas. So we lived with him for about 2 months before we got a house in Milpitas. So yeah, it was that's a different story.
And then you took a hop over, just like over the border, right? Like in San Jose. I figure Milpitas and where you live now is pretty close.
Yeah, people
Like,
go
isn't it just kind of like
well,
down the freeway.
yeah, I've lived here for 1967. So how many years is that now? Okay, good.
Quite a while.
Oh, you use big words, but your math is not so good, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah. I was like, hey, I just skipped over that.
So Silicon Valley, man, it was amazing when I came here in 1967. It was, first of all, went to a school called Samuel High School. I came in and I was going into 11th grade. There was nothing but orchards around here. 101 was a 2-lane highway. It was miles and miles of apple trees.
When there was a little bit more.
Highway 17.
Even in the 80s when I was born, like it was still, there was still a couple of crops that you can see.
Yeah. There was, and the big thing when I went to high school was always, and Alviso had the canneries.
Yeah.
And all the wind would blow from the bay into the school, and it was,
yeah.
Oh, the canneries are canning. It was stanky, man. But what a time. It's just amazing to see Silicon Valley grow.
Yeah.
So Highway 17 was Highway 17 all the way. It's now, it was 880, right? 680 and 280 weren't even around.
Yeah.
It was just,
I actually remember when they put in Highway 85.
yeah, that wasn't even.
They dug down so far from the
right.
And I remember that. I was like, wow, this is the neatest thing I've ever seen. And because my grandmother lived right on the other side where Union crossed over. And so every day we'd go visit her, we'd have to deal with this kind of stuff, and I'd get to see down inside, and they dug straight down, and I was like, man, this is the coolest thing ever. And of course I always wanted to climb down there, but I remember, and honestly, it's weird that you're bringing this up because I was over by Valley Fair the other day on Winchester, and I was looking at the house, the Winchester Mystery House, and I was like, man, it's kind of sad to think about how open this place was before they put in this giant mall and they took out the movie theaters and they added all these condos and high-rise things, and it was like, I remember it wasn't that long ago, maybe not even 20 years ago.
Right.
And everything has grown up around it.
It's so funny. Coming in 1967, this was the most open, and I've never seen that much open space in all my life, and besides Africa. Right?
Unless you go out to the country, literally.
Yeah, and to see San Jose and San Francisco, you ever hear of white front stores?
White front?
White front.
Nope.
Big stores. Okay. How about Goody Speed Shops?
Yes.
Yeah. Those were big. Okay. Tower Records.
Of course. That actually, there might still be one.
Yeah. But
over on Bascom.
All these places around here.
Yeah.
There was no Cisco. There was no Foundry Networks. There was no, Amazon.
Yeah.
None of that stuff. Right. And it's just amazing to see that. And that's just like when we when I came here and started training back in 1970. I mean, there was hardly any dojos, any training schools, right? One or two taekwondo schools. You see some kung fu schools, and most of those schools, kung fu schools and stuff, are always in like Chinatown or where there's predominantly Asian influence, right?
Yeah.
But here in San Jose, it was very hard to find a place, right? Choi's was one of the biggest studios when I started training, right? He had like 3 or 4 studios, which was pretty big, and a lot have changed.
Yeah.
Lots have changed. Even the martial arts, what they teach is is a little more watered down. It is. You know, private lessons back then were more predominant than the group lessons, right? Yeah, because again, people they didn't know about martial arts.
Yeah.
You know,
So they had to kind of test the waters before
well,
they
who
went
brought
in
it
with everybody else.
to fame and stuff again was who did it? Come on. Come on, man.
Hold on. I'm trying to think of his actual name. LaRusso brought it.
No, LaRusso.
JCVD, Jean-Claude, Steven Seagal brought in the martial arts.
Yeah, but who really made it?
Bruce Lee.
That's right.
Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee. Yeah. And,
the original.
Yep. And that's when that started to gain some momentum, right? And the stuff that Bruce Lee was doing then was like, wow, that's pretty
Because
cool.
like, what is it? You get a big guy like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. They're not actually fighting. They're just shooting everybody with their guns and smashing skulls, breaking raw.
Yeah.
But they don't actually fight. Like nobody's actually doing martial arts. They're just punching and kicking real quick and shooting everybody.
Yeah. And then you had a proliferation of those kung fu movies, the B, where you see some, hey, my kung fu is better than your kung fu, and totally not in sync.
God.
And people flying backwards, right? I mean, it'd be fun to make a kung fu B movie, man.
That would be cool.
It would be fun.
It would take a lot. Like you'd need like the crane to make the guy fly up on the trees and.
Well, I don't know. They can do that now pretty much with their phone, man.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Yeah. So it was a different time. But like you were talking about private lessons, that was more of the norm, right, back then. And now, again, you do private lessons, and it's much more. A lot more people are doing it.
Yeah.
Right. They want that one-on-one attention.
Yeah.
Right.
So people love getting that attention.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else are we going to be talking about today besides knives? Are we talking about knives?
What about weapons?
Weapons, period?
Yeah, I mean, we could say improvised weapons versus like. Okay, so you drive around. Well.
I drive around in a little Kia hamster wagon.
Let's reset. Standard, like, okay, people drive around and you get every once in a while you'll get that guy on your bumper just mad at the world, and maybe you did something that he didn't like and he wants to follow you in his car, and it's a truck maybe, and he's got some tools in the back. He's going to jump out of his car with a hammer or a shovel or a pickaxe or something and start attacking your car, or, like, what do you feel about that? Like, maybe protecting yourself. Like, I know this is California.
Yeah, but
I know, like, in other states, I've actually seen these things where it's actually kind of cool. I'm glad I don't have a gun. But, like, there's a locking system in your car where you keep your gun, and I don't know if it's fingerprint.
Yeah, it's fingerprint. You pull the gun out immediately,
and you kind of press into it and it pulls out, and then you hit something else and boom, clips in the gun. Like maybe the clip isn't necessarily there, or I don't know. Other states are crazy, like I'm sure they have some cool stuff in Florida, but like I don't think you can do stuff like that here, right? Like, so people would be carrying like.
People do that. I mean,
of course, people
do it. Do that. It doesn't matter what state we're in.
But like, what about like weapons? Like maybe I have a billy club or like a baseball bat or something like. Well, is it recommended to drive around with stuff like that in your car?
No,
not at all.
No. That's my that's my opinion, right? Again, first of all, don't even get in that situation. Somebody's riding your bumper, and then you get pissed off because he's riding your. Just
go around.
No, just pull over.
Yeah,
Get into the slower lane. Let him pass you, right? or again, somebody, I guess I cut off somebody. I don't know why, but I became number one all of a sudden,
Yeah.
right?
And it's like, who cares?
Show me the number one
I
sign.
actually get that every so often.
And I go, oh God, I'm like, I raise my hand, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, right? Even though they're being a jerk about it, right?
Yeah.
But why do you want to escalate the situation? What do we say here, right? We always try to tell people, hey, listen, de-escalate the situation, right? I
Right.
told you about when I was on Central Expressway, two cars, a guy jumps out of one car and takes a baseball bat and smashes the window of the other car. The guy didn't get out of the car. So he jumps back in his car, and the guy that got his window smashed goes after the guy. And they race on down Central Expressway. What's he gonna do?
Maybe he's like on the phone with the coppers and it's like, I've got him in my sights.
Well,
don't worry, Detective Rando here.
maybe that would be the smart thing to do, but it just I'm like, first of all, why did that happen?
Yeah.
Right? Because number one, I don't care how good you are, you should always be prepared, always
No.
be vigilant. But
Not with like a potential like
most of
instrument.
most of the time when you carry, we talk about knives and people carry knives, and you heard me say it in class. Hey, how many guys carry a knife? And you get people raise their hand. I go, why do you carry a knife? Well, to protect myself. I go, really? Where's your knife? Well, it's in, a woman. Well, it's in my purse. It's in my bag, right? I'm like, okay, so where's your purse? Well, it's way over there.
Or what good is it?
or guys will have their knives
Yeah, the little pocket.
in their pocket, and I go, okay, let's have a little contest, okay? Let's see you pull your knife out faster. I'll say go. Let's see how fast you can pull it out. And it does, and they're like fiddling
Yeah,
with it. And they don't even know how to draw the knife out of their pocket.
Right.
So if it comes down to where you're going to get attacked and you're going to use this knife, you can't even get out. 9 times out of 10, guess what? The weapon that you carry is used against you. There was a girl.
I was just thinking that, like,
Well, yeah,
I keep my knife in the glove box of my car. It's not for attacking people. It's just because I'm a Boy Scout and I like to be prepared. What if I need a knife real quick? It's not even really sharp, but it's there.
Right. But you know where it is, right? But
what the problem is like you were about to say, it could be used against me. Maybe they go in, they find a knife. I walk into my car while they're breaking into it. Now they've got a knife.
There was a lady, I guess, many years ago. I don't know if it was on BART or wherever, but in Alameda County, she was attacked and she had a taser, attacked by 2 guys. And so she had a taser.
She's probably there holding it at him.
Well, no. They took the taser from her and tased her and robbed her.
Yeah.
And people go, why does that happen? First of all, people carry, I get when we do self-defense, especially for women self-defense courses, right? I go, how many of you guys carry a weapon? And
yeah, always a couple.
I go, what do you carry? Well, I have mace or I have pepper spray. Oh, I have a knife or I have this stun gun. I go, really? So when was the last time you used any of these? And they go, well, never. Well, I guarantee you, if you don't practice deploying that and using it, it's not going to happen, right? There was the lady that got, stunned. They used it against her. There was another lady who went to spray a guy and she sprayed her own self with the pepper spray.
It hits a good wind and it just right back into their face.
Well,
like,
people think
what's happening?
People think pepper spray is a spray. It's not. It's a stream, right? And so if you,
my God,
if you,
I can imagine holding it the wrong way and just, oh God.
But see, people go, well, I know how to do it. I go, well, really? In a stress situation, somebody's going to try to hurt you, and you quickly and you go like that, and
now it's all over you.
Yeah,
you're like, oh my God.
And it's just, if you're going to carry a weapon, you need to utilize. I mean, you need to practice with that weapon.
With those pepper spray things, you want to get 3. You take one and you just unload it all. Like, just
practice,
find a way.
Practice deploying it. Right.
Practice. Both sides.
And it's just amazing that how many people just don't know how to use any of their weapons, right? And these situations where you're asking to carry that in the car, or the road rage issues, those are really scary.
Yeah.
Because that's an emotional That's emotion coming
Yeah.
through. It's not, reasonable thinking. It's emotional thinking. And people just get pissed off. And when you're pissed off, you're not thinking straight. And
Right.
they'll do things that they never thought they would do, and they do it, right? So carrying a weapon in there, if you've never
I
used
think
it,
that's good to note also for a lot of adults too, like not just the women, but men, like who think they're cool and they want to carry a weapon, like a billy club or like even a knife. Like, what's going to happen if they try to use that weapon and it doesn't work out for them? You know,
Right.
like they go to stab somebody or cut. You know, it's not gonna. It's we have those seminars for knives, and you actually give them the opportunity to cut into something.
well, yeah, that's real. But people, when I see them, I go for it, and some hesitate.
They hesitate, and it's like, this is bad, but it's attacking you. Defend your life now. Go, go, go.
The,
And, yeah.
the difference, God, I was just listening to the news today, and they said that shootings are up 45%.
Yep.
From, is it a year ago or 2020 or 2021? They're up 45%.
Crazy. I used to get, because I have this news app on my phone, and they just pop up when something happens. Unfortunately, I guess that's just in my algorithms. But I got a new phone and I hadn't updated it. And so Jen was asking me the other day, she's like, "Oh, did you get the news about anything lately?" And, or she was asking about this specific thing, and I was like, "No." And so I updated it, and the preferences are back on. And now every damn day I'm getting, "Oh, these people gunned down here. These people gunned down here. These people," every single day, somewhere in the U.S., somebody's doing something stupid.
It's a problem. I mean, that's a whole different issue to talk about.
Yeah.
What with the gun proliferation and people getting hurt by guns. But
Because
a gun
that's
is
not-
very
yeah.
impersonal
Yeah.
because number one, I can shoot you from a distance, right? But
Yeah.
if the person's using a knife, it's very personal because you're actually have to make contact with your hand or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. You have to be within.
Yeah, and and it takes a different kind of mentality to stab somebody. But you're hearing about this, right? How many people are getting stabbed?
Yeah.
It's scary. Being cut is very scary, right?
I think hearing about it is one thing, but when you find those, the occasional like surveillance camera footage, like you never want to see one of the biggest problems with society as a whole is that we would rather film the incident than help the people out and stop it. Like it's even the one that we like to talk about, the most recent one that's just the worst. Guy's got his hands up, the other guy's telling him, "You better back up," and he gets
Oh yeah,
close enough.
but his friend.
And
It's not
but his friend is recording the whole thing.
I know, but
and
his
it's
hands
like,
aren't up, and that's
Jesus,
why he
man,
gets
like,
his throat cut, and you see him bleed
it
out. Yeah.
shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Yeah.
That's the problem. People get a little too much of that fun juice in them, and then they just become, invincible
Right.
in their head, and they're not. Like, they don't understand. Like,
The best defense against a knife is run.
yeah,
Run the other
it's
way.
like, why am I getting close to this guy I don't know who may or may not have a weapon? It's like, it doesn't make sense. People have
I've
said-
had a couple incidences where I always assume that if I can't see your hands, that means you have a knife in your hand.
Yeah.
There's been a couple incidences where I said, "Let me see your hands. I'm backing off. Let me see your hands." And
Yeah, and who cares? You sound like a cop.
a couple times, the guy had what I
Yeah,
suspected.
it was a weapon.
Yeah, and it's just you got to be wary. Hey, people go, "Well, that's awful embarrassing." Who
Who
cares?
cares? Yeah, like I said, who cares? You sound like a cop.
Well, I mean, no. Let me see your hands, right?
Yeah.
Or you get I asked
Show me your hands.
I-
I would go. I would go that far. Show me your hands. And say, "Oh, hey."
Well,
That'll stop something.
well, when you get to show that kind of level of confidence, then you're making yourself a hard target. We talked a little about that, right?
Yeah.
But it's really amazing when I do these self-defense seminars and I say, okay, have you ever talked to a guy and the hair on the back of your neck stands out? And I ask this of women, and I go, yeah. Or you talk to somebody and he's creepy, and you know he's creepy. Why do you keep
Why
talking
do you
to him?
keep talking to him?
And
I
what's the common comment?
I
Come on.
don't want to offend.
Yeah. I don't want to be rude.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my god.
Why do we have, well, women call it instincts and guys have gut feeling, right?
Feeling.
Right? We don't trust our gut feeling. Well, that's the other thing. Remember I was talking about how phenomenal the human body is?
Yeah.
Guess what? We have an early warning system.
Early warning system.
Say it
Early
again.
warning system.
Say it again. Early
We
warning
all
system.
have it.
We all have it sometimes, but the human body's saying, hey, this is kind of sketchy. Let's kind of back off. And with some people trust their instincts and some people don't.
Yeah,
Trust your instincts, right? The worst thing that can happen, you're rude to a guy. So what?
Or you feel stupid because there's nothing going on. You're like, who cares?
Yeah. Who what? So what?
Yeah.
It's just funny how people are nowadays, right? And again, I keep talking about the old days. I shouldn't call it the old days. Before.
Well, yeah.
Before the big change.
Before the big change. BC. So do we remember? Let me see. I hate to bring it back to the last podcast, but we were talking about old training versus new training. Do you remember that?
Oh, my old training or the or the podcast?
Both. Remember when you were training in your 20s, you were talking about having to deal with so you said everything is kind of different now. My gloves will protect me through anything. I'm talking what?
We used.
They won't? Listen. They weren't the 2019, the 2018, probably 16. They were the best glove of the year.
What kind of gloves were they?
They
boxing
protect
gloves?
me through, boxing.
Oh yeah, boxing gloves.
They protected me through anything.
Boxing. You know what's changed, right? Look at what's changed is the technology of the gloves nowadays.
Yeah, but
Right.
Theoretically, yes, but you didn't even wear gloves when you were.
No, we taped our hands.
Ugh.
Yeah, tape.
Oh my god.
White tape. I remember that.
And that's tournament or is that just training?
Training, we don't. I mean, we could wear tape. We could wear tape around our wrist to do that. But again, we didn't have all that protection. I got to tell you a story. One of the craziest guys I've ever trained with, one of the best guys. His name was Mikey Nay, who it was the Nine system of Eskrima, and we would train and we would put leather around our wrists and leather around our necks.
So tell me, what did this leather resemble? I'm thinking.
Oh, it's a thick piece of leather that
just a piece of leather. Did it have a belt on it? Or
No.
just you tied some string.
Or we'd tape it around, tape and then tear, and a big thick piece of leather here, and then we'd use real knives and goggles, and we'd practice cutting. It's called number one. If you have a knife in your hand, I practice cutting your hand or your wrist, and the knives are not real sharp, but they could still cut
they're
you.
Dull,
but again, we practice doing that. People go, "Are you freaking kidding me?" We don't do that nowadays.
But that was just what would happen when you missed the leather.
Sometimes you got cut and sometimes you didn't.
Because depending on how dull the knife was that day.
Right. But even with those blades, even though they were dull, they were scary.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right. And Mike was a guy where he was tough, man. And
he really thought the pain thing was the best lesson.
Well, not only that, but it made you move faster and made you want to go. That's why the shock knives came out. Back in that time, there was no such thing as a shock knife. Right. I mean, that's a relative.
Tase people.
Well, yeah, and tasers weren't readly available like they are now. Yeah. I mean, pepper spray wasn't readily available.
Taser at this point.
Yeah. So, but we would do crazy stuff again. I remember just working out. We'd go to a park up here called Sunol Park and we'd run in the creek. In the water, we'd run in the creek instead of running on the. We'd run in the creek, Sometimes the creek was not a creek,
I like that.
right? And then running up hills, and it was just a different kind of training, a lot of hard training.
I feel like I was born in the wrong.
Well, no, it's different. Or
Because,
running.
man, if I was like into back then,
You ever, you know where Stevens Creek Dam is, right?
Of course,
And you've
just
seen
went up
the
there the other day.
road kind of circuit go all the way up. We used to wear a backpack, and they put rocks in the back of our backpacks. 30 pound.
You didn't hit a trail, you just went up the road.
We ran up the road. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's not fair.
Well, it's
I
different.
want to do it.
Well, you can. We can.
It's not fair. We should make the black belts do stuff like that.
Well, they
Come on.
do. Okay, now you seen our black
Yeah,
belts,
yeah.
okay?
All right. To
I
be
make the
fair,
black belts do
It's
that.
pretty rough.
Right.
But
it is.
man, I gotta do that.
It's different, and well, nowadays it's just
Nobody really. It's
It's-
harder to get
no,
people to want to do stuff like
yeah,
that.
but not only that, but it's a liability issue, right? Number one, there's so much.
Like,
In
what's
the
the
old days,
liability?
well, when you signed
Grandma,
up,
look that word up.
when you signed up for martial arts, and again, when we signed up, I mean, even then, I never signed a liability waiver. But you took it, and if I got a black eye or broken nose, that was just part of the deal. Nowadays, I mean, you get a black eye or broken
Wear it
nose,
like a
and
badge.
it's
Now
it's like,
oh my god, now I have to be out for 5
Well,
months.
no,
to
it's
recover
just-
my black eye.
we got to worry about getting sued. Going, hey man, you hit me too hard, or
You think that would be more geared towards things that like really hurt, like jujitsu, and even your hapkido is kind of, that's a good one. Like because you can actually break bones, but like here you get a little bruised and a little bloody, but
well, hey, listen, that's part of it. Getting bruised, getting bloody. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're gonna
I
do
thought
this,
you'd wear that like a Krav badge
Well,
of honor.
yeah, bruises are what, like raw badges, right?
Yeah,
That's what we have fun with that. But again,
you're a butt.
we try to mitigate the amount of
Yeah.
bruising and stuff, and still teach people how to protect themselves.
yeah.
And it's just a different time, man.
Yeah.
Uh, you-
Get with the times, man.
I know, man. It's just funny, right? So it's just different. It's different, and the training is.
It's kind of like the lingo, right?
Oh,
There's
Oh,
this
man.
thing where we were talking about what were we talking about? Yes, was it 2 days ago, 3 days ago?
yeah, we're talking about the old lingo.
Groovy.
No, wait. It's like, yeah, groovy. That's groovy, man. Or, hey, it's bitchin'.
Bitchin'.
It was bitchin', right?
My dad, that was one of my dad's favorite things, but he would say it like Cheech or something. Hey, that's bitchy. I'm like, what
hey,
are you doing?
Right on. Right on.
Totally right on.
I mean, and now, I mean, some of the stuff.
The
And then
kids,
my.
no cap. They're capping or they're
Yeah, or hey, wait a minute, man, that's
what
fat.
was it?
Wait,
Some fat.
PHAT, and I'm like,
No, that was more my era.
I know, I'm like,
now these.
what do
kids
you
are-
mean? What do you mean by that? Fat.
Fat?
What?
Oh my god, are you calling me fat? Kinda.
Times changed. In my time, my dad, especially my dad, he would. I had long hair, and he grabbed my hair and he goes, "When you gonna cut that shit?"
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And just like he would listen to Tijuana Brass and Frank Sinatra. We consider elevator music, right? You go to Vegas back then, you hear Frank Sinatra, and now I went to Tahoe, golly, last month
Yeah.
with my wife, and we're staying at Harris in Tahoe, the new part, and going up the elevator. Guess what kind of music was playing?
Elevator music?
Yeah, AC/DC.
Oh wait, what?
Yeah, man, and I mean, AC/DC.
Well, I mean,
in the elevator.
it's a
But what I'm saying is, back then, I mean, they were like right hard rock, man,
Yeah,
and now I'm
Now
going
it's
up in an
elevator
elevator.
music.
It's elevator music, right?
you know what
Or
would've
Bon
been
Jovi,
even-
elevator
well,
music.
What would have been even better is someone covering that, making it elevator music, like Back in Black. I hit the sun.
So, but times change. It's like martial arts. I mean, the lingo is, and that's confusing sometimes.
And then you gotta evolve, ever evolving, right? So that
Well, that's just like martial arts, right? We always try to stay with the times. That's the other thing that kind of the martial arts, right? It's I've done Shotokan and doing the hard block and down block and inside block and upper block. and punching one punch, killed. Well, it hasn't evolved with the times. A lot of the martial arts have not evolved with the times. In Taekwondo, it's evolved, but it's become more of it's an Olympic sport now where you hit and it's a point.
Yeah.
Well, is it really going to devastate?
So like you could, da, 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 I just got 8 points in your face.
Yeah, and it's just it's changed. It's not if it doesn't evolve. That's why one of the things I've always tried to do with our system, especially our Vanguard Krav Magas, I try to evolve. Right. Again, I asked this in class. I said, "Have you been somebody tried to kill you recently?" And I usually get no hands, but
Yeah.
maybe once in a while I get a hand or two, right? Hey, don't hang out with that guy.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I go, okay, so no one's great. Keep doing what you're doing because you're doing something right. But you go to a party and somebody looks at you and goes, "What are you looking at?" People don't understand. That question is a sign for, well, let's fight.
Yeah, let's fight.
Right? What are you looking at? And I tell people again, in this situation where you're thinking, oh man, I don't want to hit this guy in the throat and kill him. Well, you do that and guess what? You're going to jail, right?
Yep.
But here's the deal. You need to de-escalate the situation. So in the evolution of some of the stuff that we teach, it's not all about deadly force. We also have non-lethal techniques, throat poke, eye flick, right? Groin strike, arm bar.
Yeah.
I mean, those are things that inflict a lot of pain, but they're not going to kill you, right? And so you use those way more than you will use your Krav Maga, right? Krav Maga's a last resort. Last resort. And really, how many people I ask, and I ask this for all the time, how many people have somebody tried to kill you?
Yeah. I love that. That's my favorite.
Yeah, and so.
Well, you've had somebody try to kill you once, or twice. Well, at least once.
We'll talk about that some other time.
All right. I was going to say, one last story of when you almost got killed. Yeah. Prelude. Boom. Since this is a family show, I'd just like to say I love you.
Oh, man, I love you too.
All right.
Okay, is that it?
That's it.
That's it.